Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Chris here from Fake Sports News, back at it again with another video. Of course, I'm going to be bringing you guys an update on what to expect this coming Friday, really, at the Minnesota Rocker Home Series, as well as just a brief recap of what happened in our last event. So getting right into it, basically, the last home series, Chicago and London looked to be the two best teams at that event. Of course, London, with the addition of Zero, they looked fantastic, and the same can be said for Chicago. Chicago didn't go to a single Game 5. London, I believe, had maybe one, but with Zero on the roster, they just looked a lot better. Of course, Dylan looked a lot more comfortable. Weskins and Scraps, they looked great. And London overall looks like a T6 team again. Of course, looking at Chicago with the addition of Pristini, I think that Chicago at this point is the team that Minnesota was trying to become from day one. They're a very selfless team. Everybody pretty much just plays their role, and they really push well as a team, and they coordinate their strategies well. So I would say that they look pretty good going into this next event, but of course it's online COD, anything can happen. Try and keep this video a little bit shorter, considering the fact that, Saturday and Sunday are always kind of a toss-up. So looking ahead to Friday, we have Toronto taking on the LA Gorillas. Of course, the LA Gorillas did make a roster change. They swapped out Spart for Saints. And Toronto, I'm not too sure what's going on with their roster. I saw they had Kleenex playing in some scrims against other teams. I'm not sure if he's taking Classic's spot or if Classic will play this weekend. That, of course, remains to be seen. But for right now, I'm assuming that Kleenex will be playing. And I favor Toronto in this matchup. I see them taking the series either 3-0 or 3-1. I think they finally figured things out as a team. And, of course, they have two teams, essentially, so they get really good practice just playing internally. So I think Toronto is going to do pretty well. I expect them to make it out of their group along with Chicago, and I expect them to take this opening matchup pretty convincingly. Of course, looking ahead to our second matchup, we have Atlanta FaZe taking on the Seattle Surge. And Surge, they actually made a roster change. Of course, the 3 times Karma sadly retired recently. Modern Warfare just wasn't his game, and he decided to step down. So Proto is replacing Karma, and Panda, of course, is still on the roster. So those are 2 changes that have recently been made. Enable's back on the bench once again. So we'll see how Seattle perform, but I'm expecting this to be a pretty easy 3-0 for FaZe. It's a new Seattle team, and I know that they've been struggling a lot in scrims. And of course, FaZe is FaZe. I mean, they're definitely top 3 team without a question. Personally, I think they're a top 2 team, but it's really hard to say with Chicago only getting better, and Dallas, of course, being really the clear-cut number 1 so far. Of course, in our next matchup, we'll see the Chicago Huntsmen taking on the Florida Mutineers. Florida, of course, made a roster change. They added Awakening to the roster in place of Mox. So we'll see if the roster change can help them. Honestly, I don't think that they'll beat Chicago in this matchup. I see Chicago taking this 3-1. See Chicago sweeping the respawns and Florida potentially stealing a domination. But it could also be a 3-0. I think that Awakening is a great player, don't get me wrong. One of the best up-and-coming amateur players in the scene at the moment. But honestly, his closest comparison is Pristini, and Pristini, of course, is a world champion. What more can be said about Pristini? The guy is just so talented, so good. I think Chicago wins this matchup pretty convincingly. Of course, in our last matchup of the day, we'll have the Dallas Empire taking on the Minnesota Rocker, the hosting team. In the case of Minnesota, I really don't favor them to win more than one map. I see this going either 3-0 or 3-1 in favor of Dallas. I think it goes 3-0 in Dallas's favor. I think with their teamwork, of course, Rambo Ray, one of the greatest minds in the history of COD, at the helm now, and Shotzi, Hook, Illy, Clay, and Krem on the roster, it's just really hard to look past them and say that Minnesota will win more than 1 or 2 maps. Of course, also Minnesota has not been doing too well in scrims against pro teams. I believe they lost maybe 6-2 or 6-1 to Chicago the other day, so it's looking kind of slow for them at this point in the season. Hopefully they can bounce back and maybe win some matches somewhere along the way at their home event. Would hate to see them just get bounced out, but I'm not too optimistic about their chances in their opening matchup. Of course, for all my fellow bettors out there, this is going to be a great weekend for us. There's a lot of safe money. Fingers crossed. FaZe, Dallas, Chicago, they are 3 teams that most definitely respect money. So I'm hoping that they really perform as they should all weekend long. Should be free cash for all of us. I would parlay all of their matches together. I don't see them losing to any teams apart from each other, obviously. In the FaZe Chicago matchup, personally, I'm favoring Chicago at the moment. I think there's a lot of information on FaZe at this point in the game, and other teams are able to counter their strategies a little bit better. Even the Seattle Surge, we saw they were able to take an S&D off of them at one point, of course on Arklaw Peak. So it's just a matter of how much information there is out there, and obviously with Persini being a new player, kind of throws a wrench in the mix, if you will. Of course, there are a lot of new teams coming into this event this weekend, a lot of new team compositions, so that's something to watch out for. There's potential for the LA Gorillas to really look good with Saints being added to the roster. I think it gives them some much-needed slaying consistency, and it also gives them consistency in S&D as well. So we'll see how the Gorillas look. They're a team to keep an eye on. Additionally, I think you should keep an eye on the Toronto Ultra. They've only seemed to look better in the last few weeks. So I would say keep an eye on Toronto and LA Gorillas. They're my two underdog teams to watch. Of course, Chicago, FaZe, and Dallas are the top 3 teams in the game at the current moment. So those 3, definitely keep an eye on them as well. And Florida, I think Florida, they have a lot to prove. We'll see how Awakening does this weekend. But this is a great time for them to really kind of stabilize in the season. They have good points on their side. So as long as they keep getting about 10 or 20 points per event, they won't really fall out of good seeding for the playoffs. Keep an eye on those teams. Safe money, of course, is Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta. But the other teams, a little bit more of a toss-up. Stay tuned to my Twitter account. I will be updating you guys on where my money will be going each day and what handicaps you should take. Of course, I'm going to be taking minus 1.5 for Atlanta, Dallas, and Chicago on Friday. I'm going to be doing a money line with Toronto, Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas as well. So I recommend that you guys do that for our initial bets on Friday. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, be sure to tweet at me. I will add you to my betting Discord where we talk about our bets and all that ahead of time. Some great lads over there in that server. So if you guys would like to get up to the minute intel, I would highly recommend that you tweet at me and I will add you to the server. Of course, stay tuned to our social media channels. Links are in the description down below. We will be giving you guys map by map updates on what's going on, live tweeting, etc. And, we'll be following all the storylines, helping you guys to hopefully win some money this weekend, live bets, all that. So stay tuned to our Twitter account at Fake Sports for Fans. Of course, follow us on Instagram. Link is in the description. And yeah, guys, hope you enjoy the COD this weekend. We have all of our top 5 teams finally at an event. So this will be a great weekend. There's going to be some great moments without a doubt. And I hope you guys enjoy the COD. And I'll catch you on the next video. Once again, this has been Chris from Fake Sports News, and I am signing off. Peace.